Good morning and a happy Thursday morning to you. We have a lot to cover today. And if you guys remember, I was starting to put up recipes like once a week. That was before I lost power for almost 11 days. So I decided to put a recipe in. One of my subscribers asked me to redo a specific recipe and I have obliged. So you'll find that at the end of this video before you move on to video number 2. But let's just jump in and cover what we have right here, shall we? Let's go. I'm going to start off with an email that I got from one of my subscribers who said that their screenshots from their local news, and here they are. And what you see is that, and this person is in South Africa, you see that it's the overseas outlets that are covering Harry in South Africa. Even the president that was visiting Lesotho, they didn't cover that either. Now, I'm not giving her name because she didn't give me permission to do so, but I thank you for this information. And basically what it shows is that people in South Africa, as far as I'm concerned, people in South Africa just aren't that interested in them, in Harry and what he's doing. All right, let's move on. Next up, let's move on to Harry, who made the statement that Archie and Lily are blessed with their mother's thick hair, and that Lily's hair is so long that eventually she's going to be able to sit on it. Okay, here's my thing. First of all, why would anybody care? You don't want us to see your children. You don't bring them to anything. You don't release pictures. The pictures that you do release are heavily photoshopped. So why are you constantly going on and on about your kid's hair? I have several thoughts. First of all, apparently Harry really cares about his missing hair, which is why every time you see pictures of him, his hair has been photoshopped onto his head to cover the baldness. Harry wants to equate the children to Princess Diana. He said, and I'm quoting, "The Spencer gene is very, very strong. I actually really genuinely thought at the beginning of my relationship that should this go the distance, if we have kids, there's no way the ginger gene will stand up to my wife's genes, but I was wrong." And in addition, he points out all 3 of Princess Diana's siblings all have red hair. Now, I find comments like that very interesting about the red hair because as you can see in this picture, the daughter has brown hair with red highlights. Here, she also has clearly brown hair. But in the next 2 pictures, her hair is red. Now, we saw the same thing with Archie. One day he was brown, then he was red, then he was blonde. Here, the little girl is blonde. So they photoshopped the pictures, and in none of those pictures do the children appear to have thick hair. As a matter of fact, the girl looks like she has very thin flyaway hair. Harry also had a thing about Catherine's hair. He wrote all about it in the Spare, how thick it was, and it was healthy looking, etc., etc. And let's not forget he was talking about William and the fact that William was going bald, and quite frankly, so is he. So for me, this was just another PR thing. Who cares about the hair of your children that you won't allow the world to see? When those kids do finally come out from hiding and they go, we're Archie, we're Lily, I don't think people are going to believe them. People are going to be like, yeah, prove it. Oh my God. All right, let's move on. It's now being reported next up that Harry's separation from Meghan is about to end because Harry's return to California is imminent. He's due home in Montecito this week. So, in the next day or 2. Remember, he went to New York, then he went to the UK, then he went to South Africa. Then while he was in South Africa, he decided to extend his trip and visit with the Spencer clan and some friends on that side of the world. And now he's coming home. Well, let's hope he's found his testicles. Moving on. I want to say a big thank you to Illuminated Mind on Twitter for having these pictures. What they're saying is that Meghan was not at the Los Angeles Children's Gala, that the CEO of the hospital was seen with Jimmy Kimmel and Jamie Lee Curtis. And, remember, she hugged him outside and took those pictures outside. I don't even know that he knew who she was at that time. But a big thank you to Her Most Imperial Majesty on Twitter for coming up with this picture. You know what? It's just like with the jam. There's going to be a slow trickle of pictures. She probably said to these people, could you wait a day till you post this? Could you wait another day you know what I'm saying? She's going to trickle it out. All right, I have to touch on this article. Liz Jones wrote an article, and basically what she said was that she's invested a lot in the Duchess of Sussex and Meghan, that she's overlooked all the red flags. She's a woman, self-made, outspoken, ridiculed, bullied, but she said, you know what? I cannot overlook that red dress. So I'm going to paraphrase here. She basically said, listen, I wanted to give Meghan the benefit of the doubt. I love the fact that she loves animals and dogs. And, I totally get the fact that she didn't want to just go around cutting ribbons and opening places. And, I get it. But she said, as soon as I saw her at that charity gala, I realized she's not a duchess anymore. She's a D-list actress. Well, she was a D-list actress who married a prince, and she's remained a D-list actress as far as I can tell. The only thing she said that's grown is her eyebrows. That reminds me of Omid Scobie and his eyebrows. Now, Miss Jones wrote this article and she criticized that dress, everything from Meghan's scraggly hair to the fact that Meghan took the train off of the dress, that when she wore it in 2021 to that Freedom Gala with Harry on the Intrepid, it looked much better. I'm beginning to wonder if it is the same gown, because in this picture you can see that the fabric is quite glossy, but in these other pictures it doesn't appear glossy. She talks about how high the split is in the gown and how that made it difficult for her to talk to children that she knew were going to be there. She said, I see her as a washed up Hollywood celebrity. The thing is, she was never a Hollywood celebrity. She even goes as far in this article as calling her a jam entrepreneur. Because of ARO, which is, we haven't even seen ARO. Then she goes on to talk about the fact that she's grabbing her friend's hand. You guys remember that? And she compares her to one of those unruly friends who shows up, at your bachelorette party thinking it's all about her instead of the bride and ends up falling in a pool. She basically called her tacky and said that it was very obvious that Meghan was obsessed with the red carpet, but that's not something that most A-listers are obsessed with. She ended the article by saying she was dumping Meghan and she would block her if she knew how to do that. I mean, that was harsh. Let's move on. And before we move on to our recipe, I want to touch on this article written by Sugar Number One, Jack Royston. I was kind of shocked because he basically pointed out that Queen Elizabeth had been diagnosed with bone cancer, and for months she knew that she was dying. Boris Johnson released a memoir, and this was in the memoir, and Harry and Meghan were in Britain when the Queen passed away, and they made a point of stopping at Princess Diana's grave, but didn't bother to stop in and see the Queen. And he even said that they talked to the Queen a few days before her death and even discussed her health. Now, don't forget, in 2022 with Archetypes, we heard all about the nursery fire. We heard about the interview to the Cut magazine where she made the thread about having additional, things to say, where she could talk about her whole experience or choose not to. She took a swipe at the photo opportunities on the first day of school for children. And remember, all of this is going on while the Queen is dying. And this was when Harry was still trying to let everybody know that they were close to the Queen. What's being said is that Meghan's attacks, though, on the family would have been more felt by the King and William and Catherine, because they're saying it's entirely possible that the aides simply didn't tell her what was going on. But I'm sorry, I have a hard time believing that, because even Boris Johnson said in the book that she was going to hang on and do her duty to oversee a transition. There's no way she didn't know what was happening. That's my point. When I think about what Harry and Meghan put that poor woman through during the last months of her life, I get ill. All right, you guys, let's move on to our recipe that I promised you. Hey guys, okay, I don't have it in front of me, but somebody wrote to me and asked me to redo my recipe for taco soup. Remember, I was going to show you guys some of my recipes, but then the hurricane hit. Then I had no power for 11 days. So I am going to now include the recipe for taco soup, which everybody really loved. And it's really low calories and you can feed a ton of people with it. So here you go. So I browned a pound of meat and I'm dumping it in the crock pot. The next thing you're going to do is, and I'm not advocating any brands, you guys, just whatever. 2 cans of corn, do not drain, and dump them in. Then you're supposed to have 2 cans of diced tomatoes. Do not drain, but I don't have any, so instead I'm using crushed tomatoes. Same thing. Throw it in. Then you have a can of Rotel with chilies. This is the mild. Again, do not drain. Just dump. Now in the middle of this, you're supposed to put in a package of taco seasoning mix. I have chili mix, so we're gonna change it up a little. And that's the nice thing about this. You can make it more spicy or less spicy or change it up any way you want. And then the next thing you're gonna throw in is a package of ranch seasoning. Then you're gonna throw in 2 cans of pinto beans that have been rinsed, drained and rinsed. And you're gonna repeat with the kidney beans. Rinse, drain, rinse, and then there you go. Then you mix it. Oh, God, that looks good. Now, again, this is only like, I can't remember right off the top of my head, but I did figure it up. It literally is like 250 calories a serving. I like to put light sour cream on top and some low-fat shredded cheese on top. But this is taco soup. Delicious. You put the top on your crock pot. Oh, well, you got to plug it in too. That would help. Or if you're like me and you have problems with plugs. And then I'm going to put it on. Come on. High. For 6 hours. And there you go. Taco soup. All right, you guys, you know what to do. Hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Leave your comments and then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to video number 2 and our palate cleanser. You don't want to miss it. Let's go.